Hürtgen Forest, in my opinion, was the worst battle the U.S. Army fought in World War II in the European theater of operations. It was hell on earth. Those are the words of Jake Ruser, a combat medic who survived what soldiers called the death factory. From September to December 1944, 30,000 American and German soldiers died in a place you've probably never heard of, a place where trees became weapons, where the ground itself was a minefield, and where even enemies called temporary truces just to collect their dead. This is the story of the Battle of Hürtgen Forest, the longest battle the U.S. Army ever fought, America's deadliest forest engagement of World War II. And it's almost been forgotten. By September 1944, the Allies were on the march. D-Day had succeeded. France was liberated. Victory seemed close. American forces pushed toward Germany's industrial heartland, the Ruhr Valley. But there was a problem. Between the American First Army and their objective stood a vast, dense wilderness, the Hürtgen Forest. 50 square miles of thick pine trees, steep ravines, and narrow logging trails along the German-Belgian border. The American commanders believed they had to control this forest to protect their flanks. They couldn't simply go around it. They thought it would be a quick operation, maybe 2 weeks. They were catastrophically wrong. The Germans had prepared every inch of this forest for defense. They built concrete pillboxes disguised as farm buildings. They fortified every village. They planted thousands of mines, not just on roads, but between the trees, under the leaves, everywhere. And they installed something the Americans had never encountered before: tree bursts. Artillery shells designed to explode in the treetops, sending thousands of jagged wooden splinters and metal fragments raining down on anyone below. There was nowhere to hide. Foxholes couldn't protect you from an attack from above. Ernest Hemingway, who witnessed the battle as a war correspondent, wrote, "It was a place where it was extremely difficult for a man to stay alive, even if all he did was be there." On September 19, 1944, the 9th Infantry Division entered the forest. They were experienced soldiers, veterans of North Africa, Sicily, and D-Day. Within days, they were being torn apart. The forest itself became the enemy. Visibility was less than 10 yards in most places. Artillery observers couldn't see where to direct fire. Tank support was nearly impossible. The few roads turned into muddy death traps. Radio communications failed between the trees. Units lost contact with each other. Men wandered in circles, disoriented. The Germans knew every trail, every position. They waited in concrete bunkers and picked off American soldiers as they stumbled through the undergrowth. By October, autumn rain turned the forest floor into freezing mud. Then came November, and with it, snow. The soldiers called it the Green Hell, and it was just beginning. November 21, 1944, near Grossau, Germany. Staff Sergeant John W. Minick was leading his company through a minefield when German artillery opened fire. Men dove for cover, but they were pinned down. Moving forward meant mines. Staying meant death from above. The company couldn't advance. They couldn't retreat. They were trapped. John Minick made a decision. Without orders, without support, he moved out alone through 300 yards of minefield. He knew every step could be his last. He tested the ground with his rifle, feeling for pressure plates, moving inch by inch.
He found a safe path. He marked it and returned to his men. But as he led them forward, he spotted the real problem, a German machine gun nest perfectly positioned to slaughter his entire company if they tried to advance. Minick didn't hesitate. He charged the position alone, completely alone, across open ground, through machine gun fire, with nothing but his rifle and grenades. He killed 2 Germans and captured 20 more.
His men advanced. But then they encountered an entire German company. Over 100 soldiers dug into fortified positions. Again, John Minick attacked alone. He assaulted one position, throwing grenades, firing his rifle. He killed 20 Germans in close combat and captured 20 more. His single-handed assault shattered the German defense. His battalion could advance. But Minick wasn't done. He pushed forward again, spotting another machine gun nest threatening his men. He maneuvered to a flanking position and eliminated it. Then, while leading his men through the next advance, Staff Sergeant John W. Minick stepped on a landmine. He was killed instantly. His actions that day saved hundreds of American lives, and his battalion broke through the German lines at Grosshau, one of the few tactical victories in the entire Hürtgen campaign. For his extraordinary heroism, Staff Sergeant John W. Minick was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. He was 22 years old. He's buried in his hometown of Wall, Pennsylvania. Most Americans have never heard his name. The Battle of Hürtgen Forest officially ended on December 16, 1944. Not because either side won, not because the forest was finally cleared, but because on that same day, December 16th, the Germans launched Operation Wacht am Rhein, better known as the Battle of the Bulge. The massive German counteroffensive immediately overshadowed everything that had happened in the Hürtgen. Divisions were rushed north to meet the new threat. The forest was suddenly a secondary concern. In 3 months of fighting, American forces suffered approximately 33,000 casualties, killed, wounded, or missing. German losses were similar, possibly higher. The 22nd Infantry Regiment alone captured 764 German prisoners and inflicted devastating casualties on multiple German divisions. But the strategic objective, clearing a path to the Rhine, was never fully achieved. Some military historians consider Hürtgen Forest one of the greatest tactical errors of the war. Others argue that the battle tied down German reserves that could have made the Battle of the Bulge even more catastrophic. We'll never know for certain. What we do know is that a combat photographer named Tony Vaccaro captured hundreds of images in the Hürtgen Forest. His photographs, taken under fire with frozen fingers, are among the most haunting images of World War II. They show young men with thousand-yard stares, bodies in the snow, trees shattered like matchsticks. Today, the Hürtgen Forest is peaceful again. Tourists hike through it, birds sing in the trees. But beneath the soil, the battle still remains. 80 years later, unexploded ordnance is still being found. Artillery shells, mines, grenades, thousands of them. During the battle, 12,000 grenades were fired in a single day. Experts estimate 1,500 duds per 4 hectares of forest. Even now, it's dangerous to stray from the marked trails. And yet, most people have never heard of this battle. D-Day gets the movies. The Battle of the Bulge gets the documentaries. Iwo Jima, Normandy, Stalingrad, these are the names we remember. But Hürtgen, Grosshau, the names of men like Jake Ruser and John Minick, they've faded into the trees. Perhaps that's the greatest tragedy. Not just that 30,000 men died in that forest, but that their sacrifice has been almost forgotten. The Battle of Hürtgen Forest was the longest single battle ever fought by the U.S. Army. It lasted 3 months, It destroyed multiple divisions, it cost 30,000 casualties, and it's barely taught in schools. This is just one forgotten battle, one of dozens where ordinary men did extraordinary things, where heroes died in obscurity. In the coming weeks, we'll uncover more of these stories, the battles history overlooked, the soldiers whose names deserve to be remembered. Which forgotten battle should we cover next? Let us know in the comments. And if you learned something today, if you heard these names for the first time, please share this video. These stories deserve to be told.